This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather Ho there, it's Jeff Cutastrophe. Welcome you to another sports catastrophe on the state. And on this day, October the 26th in the year 1997, this is a humongous thing. And the fact is that this is a Formula One race that would be talked about for ages. I know I talked about a few other events on October 26th in the past years, and I was close to doing the 97 World Series. However, this one captured my fancy. And of course, I'm only doing Sports Catastrophe for this year, and then that's it. After 4 years, I'm done. So what happens is the 1997 European Grand Prix was a battle royal. It was down to two men, as you see in the picture. The blue car of Jacques Villeneuve and the red car of Michael Schumacher. The European Grand Prix was supposed to be in Portugal and called the Portuguese Grand Prix at Estoril, but because of financial difficulties and moved to not only Spain, to the Jerez, Jerez course, but it was named the European Grand Prix. Headed into this race, it was a dogfight for the last spot. Schumi was up by a point over Villenueve going into the race. Villenueve and Schumacher would compete, and this would be practically a giant thing and all that. So this would actually be the last time that the season finale of an F1 race would be held in Europe. Yes, it's held at Abu Dhabi, the last race, but that's not Europe, unfortunately. That's Asia. So, anyway. The weird thing is. So, anyway, it's the final round of the Formula One World Championships. And all that. And Japan was actually supposed to be the last race of 97. Almost every year, the last race was in Japan or Australia. But Renault did not want their last Formula One race to be in Japan. They wanted it somewhere else. So it was the European Grand Prix. It was down to two men for the championship. It was Schumi for Ferrari and Jacques Villeneuve, the Canadian, from Berthierville, Quebec, for Williams. It was close. Schumi had the lead with 78 points. Jacques had 77 points. Heinz-Harald Frentzen was third with 41 points. And Villeneuve's teammate Williams, Jean Alesi and David Coulthard, were also in the top five. Villeneuve actually had the tiebreaker on Schumi. He won two more races than Schumi, so that meant that Villeneuve would have the title on tiebreak. Villeneuve knew he had to finish in the top 6. Well, it's top 10 now, but top 6 to score points. And ahead of Schumi. Anyhow, Williams actually ended up winning the Constructors' Championship, like the Team Championship. But regardless, it was all that. So qualifying happened. But the qualifying almost overshadowed the actual race. As Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, believe it or not, would score qualifying the same exact time, 1:21.072. Most people say 1:21 flat, okay, but they all were 1:21 flat. 1:21.07. They all were 1:21.07. And for the strangest reason, it was 1:21.072. So, all three cars were to the same number, to the third decimal point. Usually the second decimal point is the tiebreak, but unreal. First driver to give its precedence. So anyway, it happened so the race started at 2 p.m. European time, or flatly 8 o'clock a.m. our time. It was beautiful. It was dry. Villeneuve was first, Schumi in second. Anyhow, Schumi led 40 of the first 47 races, so it looked like Schumi was going to win this whole thing and all that. Pedro Diniz was out. He spun and stalled. Schumi and Villeneuve would make their first pit stops close to each other, both retaining their positions. And Villeneuve was closing in on Schumi. By lap 48, he was a second behind Schumi. Then he decided to overtake Schumacher at the dry sack corner. That's how they say it. Anyway, he broke later than Schumi and held the inside line. It was on the track. However, inexplicably, Schumi decided to turn his car right into Villeneuve's car, resulting in a collision with Schumi's front wheel, right wheel, and Villeneuve's left-hand side pod. So, anyway, that's what happened. Murray Walker was doing the commentary, and former F1 driver Martin Brundle, who was the color commentator, observed that Schumi's move had been deliberate. Says, I don't think that didn't work. That didn't work, Michael. You hit the wrong part of him, my friend. I don't think that will cause Villeneuve a problem. So, anyhow, Schumi was actually involved in another last race shenanigans. In 94 at the Australian Grand Prix, he inflicted damage on Damon Hill's suspension, forcing Hill out of the race and making Schumacher the world champion. So, anyway, there were damages to his car battery mount, meaning he was slower than the cars behind him, in a sense. So Schumi hit him with the intention of knocking Villeneuve out of the race. Unfortunately, though, he failed and he knocked himself out, which practically meant that Villeneuve just had to be top 6 to win the world title. Fortunately, though, Villeneuve actually did finish 3rd, which was pretty impressive, given how much Schumi was being a bastard and all that. However, Mika Häkkinen won the race, winning his first ever race, and for the first time in 12 years, a Finnish driver, a driver from Finland, had won a race. Villeneuve would finish 3rd place. He narrowly beat Gerhard Berger for 3rd. However, Villeneuve did state that if he knew it was Berger behind him, and knowing that Berger was in his final race ever, he would have given Berger a chance to be on the podium in his final race. Villeneuve did it. And that was huge. Häkkinen won, David Coulthard 2nd, Villeneuve 3rd, and Gerhard Berger missed the podium on his final attempt. Eddie Irvine and Heinz-Harald Frentzen rounded out the points. It was actually a dogfight for the top 6. The top 6 finished within 5 seconds of each other. 7th place would be a minute back, and that was Olivier Penis. Also competing were Johnny Habert, Jan Magnussen, Shinji Nakano, Giancarlo Fisichella, Mika Salo, Jean Alesi, Norberto Fontana, Tarso Marquez, Jos Verstappen. Name sound familiar? Yes, that was Max's dad. Katayama, Schumacher, Damon Hill went down with a gearbox problem. Ralf Schumacher went out. Rubensberg, Curl, and Pedro Diniz. So at the behest of the F1, they decided to investigate Schumi's tactics to hurt Villeneuve and knock him out of the race. Oh, and I forgot to mention that 2 things. A, this was the 8th podium for Villeneuve, and the first time he was on the podium without winning. He never had a second. He won 7 races, but he never took 2nd or 3rd in a race. And as my sources are telling me, and my major source Bill Lang told me, this was the year that neither Schumi or Villeneuve shared the podium. So basically, if one of those 2 got on the podium, the other didn't. So wait, Max Mosley actually did promise to issue penalties to anyone who tried to influence the outcome of the championship before the race. And Villeneuve and Schumacher didn't really battle directly on the track. So race stewards reviewed video footage and said that it was a racing incident. So anyway, Schumi was actually summoned to a disciplinary hearing by the FIA, the governing body for Formula One. And it was announced on November 11th that Schumi would be disqualified from the 97 World Championship in an unprecedented move. So practically, Schumi not only didn't, well, not only didn't get Villenueve out of the race, he ended up being DQ'd from both the European Grand Prix and the season whatsoever in an unprecedented move. He would actually retain his race victories and other results. And Ferrari was not penalized. Schumacher did accept the decision and made a mistake, and said he made a mistake. Schumi was actually ordered to take part in a road safety campaign during the 1998 season. So, because Ferrari was not involved and did not tell Schumi to go after Villeneuve that way, they escaped penalty. Anyway, it was huge and all of that. The media reaction was huge. Of course, the German newspapers practically said that that was a bitter move by F1. However, a few German papers actually did blame Schumi, saying that he played for high stakes and lost everything. The World Championship is a reputation for fair play. There was no doubt he wanted to take out Villeneuve. And a German TV channel made a poll, and 28% of respondents out of 63,000 plus said that they could not support Schumacher. A shock move. I thought the German newspapers were really going to blitz F1, but no, they blitzed Schumi. He was widely condemned in Italy, where Ferrari is and all that. And of course, Schumacher's ruthlessness was just terrible and all that. So anyway, a lot of people said there was a lot of collusion and all that. There was even collusion. Yeah, they said there was collusion, that Williams and McLaren colluded to decide the finishing order, but they could not decide it. And Villeneuve even said that if he knew Gerhard Berger was behind him, he would have let Berger pass. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, this was actually the last time Jerez would host a Formula One Grand Prix and all that. So anyway, that's what happened and all that. This was a huge legacy and all that. There were motorsport websites saying that the 1907 European Grand Prix was the greatest F1 title descender of the V10 engine era from 1989 to 2005. It was noted that it was the sport's most dramatic and controversial season finale, being the second time in 4 years that a final racing accident decided the world title. The only problem is I call BS on that. Mostly because, what about 1989 when Senna and Prost basically had that incident on the track, and Senna drove through a road that was a no-no. What about 1990 when, on the first lap, Prost and Senna banged wheels into each other? Of course, 94 was controversial. And what about 2021, for God's sake? Shouldn't really say that, but that's how I say it. But anyway. Well, regardless of that, yeah, it was one of the most highly anticipated F1 races of all time. And Jacques Villeneuve won. And that's the good news for Canadians like myself and Bill Lang, who obviously would have watched the 97 F1 season. So basically, yeah, Canada got it. And Villeneuve got a massive ovation at a Montreal Canadiens game, being the world champion and all that. The ovation lasted 5 minutes and all that. One of the longest in Molson Center history. So that was just huge. So yeah, Jacques Villeneuve did it. He gave Canada something that we could only dream, an F1 World Championship. And he did it for Gilles, his father, who died in 1982 in an accident while qualifying. He knew he had to do it for his father's legacy and Canada's. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.